Hey class, welcome to week 2. This week we're talking about waste reduction and waste diversion. I'm making this video from underneath my sink because I'm here with my 3 different streams. I've got my green bin, my mixed waste, and my recycling. And this is a really close connection that a lot of us have to the waste system, is sorting our waste out before we take it out to the curb each week. And it's where a lot of our messaging around waste is focused, around diverting things to the right bin. If you ask any little kid what the best thing they can do for the environment is, a lot of them will say recycling. So we have this cultural awareness of diversion, which is important. We're going to talk about that in this unit. But what's also even more important is waste reduction. So we wouldn't be having to sort all this stuff if we weren't generating this waste in the first place. You can probably go through your own recycling and green bin, and that's diverted stuff, but you can look in there and find stuff that maybe didn't have to exist in the first place. So we're going to be looking at some of the kind of human behavior and product design aspects of why we create waste in the first place and how we can not do that and avoid having to pay attention to the whole rest of the hierarchy, which is the most efficient way to deal with waste on a life cycle basis. So just for a little show and tell of just some things I found around my kitchen that allow us to reduce waste, and I encourage you to look around your own kitchen or bathroom when you get home and comment. You're probably all home already anyway. And see what else you can find. So I have this rice seasoning, and it comes in a little glass container that when you're done with it, you can pop this lid off, and then you have just like a cup, and it has a little lid for it. So this is probably something I'll keep and use again, not like a lot of plastic containers I'll just throw in the recycling because I'll have a million of them later. Another example is this antique milk jug. So we used to be able to get a lot of things in bulk on deposit systems. Even if you look at like old glass Coke bottles, all that stuff was part of a reuse system, and a lot of it is now on a recycling system, which is a lower form on the waste hierarchy. Now you can get a lot of stuff on deposit these days if it's alcohol, or other provinces you can do it for other beverages, but in Ontario it's really not very prevalent. You can buy really high-end milk in these bottles if you really want to, but that's another really great way, container deposit systems, which we'll talk about. This example has 2 things in it. So number 1, this is a standard size jar. This is the Classico pasta sauce jar. But what's really nice about this jar is it's the same size lid as standard canning jars. So if you do home canning, this jar particularly is a really useful one because it's compatible with all the canning equipment, and you can use this to preserve your own food, and that can avoid you maybe having to buy frozen food in a bag or tinned tomatoes or stuff like that. You can just buy fresh stuff and do some home canning, and then you can avoid it altogether. And the other, this is actually, you'll see it's full of olive oil, which is not what I bought in it because I bought this olive oil bulk from Zero Waste Bulk in downtown Waterloo. So bulk systems are another good way to avoid packaging. And you don't have to throw it out or recycle it. Couple other examples. This is just like a standard looking Tupperware thing, but this actually came with, I took it from my parents' house, it came with processed meat inside it. So instead of buying it in just a plastic bag that you throw out, you get it in this thing, and then you get to keep it afterwards. And this is probably like 10 years old, so useful little thing. And this is way better than like the standard takeout containers, which I just find they leak a lot and they pile up, and they're just not as good as some of the other containers. So sometimes there can be an argument for investing a little bit more in packaging that will be reused rather than packaging that will be thrown out right away. And then my last example from my kitchen is I've got some produce here. These days I'm doing a lot of farm pickups and curbside pickups, which end up adding a lot more bags, but usually I'd be able to go to downtown Kitchener and get this stuff in the market, and you can do things like bring your own produce bag and avoid having to use any packaging at all if you can buy directly from the farmer. And that really cuts down on the full life cycle of trucking it to a grocery store. Maybe it's sitting in a food terminal and has to be refrigerated for a long time. The grocery store has all the lights to keep on and stuff like that. So those are just a few things from my kitchen that touch on some different ways that we can reduce waste before even having to divert it. And I'm sure there's lots more in your kitchen, and we're going to talk about lots more examples in this unit. So the first thing I'm going to get you to do in this unit is listen to a podcast interview between Diane Sachs, who's the former Environment Commissioner of Ontario, and Bruce Taylor, who's the president of EnviroStewards Inc., based in Elmira. Some of you may have done a co-op there and know someone who has. I usually get Bruce to come in and give a talk to the class because their firm is really focused on the waste reduction piece, and I really like the philosophy they have and the examples they bring. So that's a great interview I'll start you with. Also, Diane Sachs is like a world-leading environmental lawyer. She was actually the last environmental commissioner of Ontario because the most recent administration actually eliminated that position, which is an interesting move at this time in the environmental crisis. But I'll also link in the description, Diane Sachs published a lot of reports in her tenure as Environment Commissioner, and she has a good one on environmental justice and Indigenous peoples in Ontario. So just following up on some of our earlier conversations, I'll put that in the link. I'll have some questions that go along with the interview in this week's quiz, but we'll start there and we'll come back with some more on waste reduction and diversion. See you soon.